Item number 1, discussion and consideration of City Council regarding paying legal fees to Banks & Jones, attorneys at law, in the amount of $45,700. This is involving the lawsuit brought before by the City Judge that she filed against the current judge, who is a city employee, no differently than any other city employee that we have to seek representation for that employee. Mr. Jones is here. Mr. Jones, you want to come up? And I know that I think most city council knows that case has went before the Tennessee Supreme Court on September the 5th. Obviously, you was waiting till that case is disposed of. It's my understanding by talking to you and the city attorney that we're at the end of that, and that's how come you to submit your invoice, which City Council had agreed to hire you several months ago in conjunction with the city attorney. So, do you have anything else you want to add?
Your Honor, members of council, distinguished employees of the city, I tendered my bill, as is the general policy of my firm, when we effectively conclude our representation, albeit we are awaiting the decision of the Tennessee Supreme Court. Hearing, I believe, was held on or about September 5th. Certainly it's online if anybody has the time or the interest in wanting to see the same. I can't necessarily comment as far as on any decision that they may or may not make. It's simply in their hands. They did request some supplementation, which my office promptly provided relative to the same. So again, we are awaiting their decision, absent sharing that with council and certainly Judge Harrison. I don't expect much more, if any, expense associated with this matter. We've itemized my bill, and I have provided the same to Ms. Kelso, like I said, in keeping with our firm's general operating policies, as opposed to just, if you like a better term, piecemeal billing. I got hired to do a job at this point in time where, for all intents and purposes, my work is complete. So I'll entertain any questions that anyone has, but again, we restrict any comments about the nature of the litigation. It is all public record relative to the same, but it is in the sage hands and subject to the wisdom of the Tennessee Supreme Court.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Let me say this before I ask Mr. Johnson if he's got anything he wants to add. You hear a lot about transparency, and how much more transparent can you get when you have it on the agenda? And it was discussed several times, and so it's pretty transparent to me. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. After I've kind of been on the sidelines in this lawsuit, watching it proceed, and in my opinion, you've done a brilliant job. I saw all the arguments you've made, and particularly the last supplement that the Supreme Court asked you to submit was truly brilliant, and I don't say that lightly. In fact, it keyed off something to me that I hadn't really thought about, and that was that the ordinance, which, everybody has access to courts, and this is not really a legal opinion as much as it's an opinion on our system and the way it's working in this particular case. And one of the reasons that the expense is so great, that is that the ordinance was passed in February the 8th, 2021. Now, everybody knew, in fact, I think council and our city manager, Amber Scott Kelso, had asked the Municipal Technical Advisory Service about whether we should change our ordinance to reflect the Tennessee Constitution. MTAS responded and said yes. In fact, they attached an opinion of our Attorney General, which said that it should be district and not city, meaning that the city judge should be a citizen of the district and not simply a citizen of the city. Now, at that time, the plaintiff in this action, Ms. McNabb, knew that she was going to contest it. I believe she said so in the paper, that she chose not to do that. Now, that's a decision that she got to make. What she has done in this case is perfectly legal. she gets to make the decision to contest the election after the election and sue the successful candidate, Mr. Harrison. But what I'm talking about is the personal cost, the people cost of doing that. And that is that for 18 months prior to the election, Ms. McNabb knew she was going to contest it if she lost. Meanwhile, Mandy Smith, remember Mandy, she was a losing candidate in this case. Greg Harrison, the winning candidate, they relied on this ordinance. They relied on this to have an election, to get out there in the middle of the summer and sweat on that street, go door to door, spend thousands of dollars that could have been shortstop, but was not. Why? Because the plaintiff decided she would not bring that lawsuit unless she lost. Well, there's a cost to that beyond just this $47,000 or $45,700. That's the human cost. Now listen, I know as well as anybody what it's like to be a disappointed candidate for city judge. I've got 16 votes between me and being city judge. I was very disappointed when I lost, but I sucked it up and went on. And in this case, the people of Lenoir City spoke. Had an election, it was very close. All the candidates got approximately 300 votes. Ms. McNabb did not win. Judge Harrison did. Very close. But that's the American way. We have elections. MTAS said this was constitutional. We thought we were doing the constitutional thing on February the 8th, 2021. And I believe that this is a perfectly reasonable cost for this city to incur, and it's all because the losing candidate in this election couldn't accept the loss. Instead of taking it before the legal authorities, I believe she could have gone to the election commission. She could have filed a lawsuit beforehand. She didn't do that to prevent exactly the kind of cost that I'm talking about, which is the cost to the people of having an election that she knew she was going to contest all along. So, thank you, Mr. Jones. Thank you, Mayor, for letting me say my piece.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Let me say this, and I think everybody knows this. Obviously, there's two offices within city government that you don't have to live inside the corporate limits to run for. Mr. Wilmer's office is one of them, and the city judge is the other. And the people of Lenoir City made that determination because we're a home rule town, and they made that many, many years ago when the charter was created. All right, I'll open it up for discussion, if any. Members of the City Council.
Mayor,
Yes.
just for clarification, this council is being asked to pay $45,700 in representation of the judge that won the election, and that's being paid because there were so many appeals questioning whether or not Ms. McNabb was a winner or a loser.
That's
So
correct.
Apparently she was a loser, and I think we need to move forward, and I agree that we should pay this, but this is coming out of the city coffers.
It is.
Taxpayers are gonna have to pay for this, and
You're right.
it's a hard pill to swallow, but apparently we're gonna have to do it. And
Well,
thank you for letting me speak.
yes, sir. And again, Mr. Harrison is a city employee. He's treated no differently than any other city employee. Just because he's a judge, he's still a city employee. And he's got city benefits, and he's treated no differently than anyone else. And you're exactly right. It is a big expense, and I hate it. And it's just like I've said before, Mr. Jones has agreed, even with the other lawsuit pending that the county has. It's very, very sad, and the losers are the taxpayers. That's just the way it is. The losers are the taxpayers. Anyone else?
I would just like to say, as a former municipal employee for 17 years in Knoxville. It is customary for employees to be defended. I myself had suit brought up on me several times over projects I did in Knoxville, and so I was always represented by the city law department, and I appreciated that. So whether it's a judge or somebody on the street department, they deserve representation. Whether they win or whether they lose, they deserve representation. So as far as this agenda item goes, I agree with Mr. Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy, and as long as city employees are in the right, this city has always taken up for them, and regardless of position. Anyone else? All right, I entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion, Mr. Simpson, to have a second. Second by the Vice Mayor or Mr. Henline. Ms. LeBon, roll call.
Henline. Kennedy. Wampler. Shields. Brandon. Simpson.
Aye.
We'll try to have you check the next 12 months. Is that okay?
That's fine. I mean, we'll defer the fines, Judge.
Can I, just before you leave the podium there, you have to walk back. Of course, the next item on the agenda, and obviously this will depend on the Tennessee Supreme Court ruling. Is discussion and consideration of City Council regarding giving Mayor Akins the authority to file civil action against Robert McNabb, attorney at law, for the purpose of recovering legal fees involving lawsuit against Greg Harrison, City Judge, City of Lenoir City, pending Tennessee Supreme Court decision. Again, I know you can't get into the case and you don't want to get in, and I just want City Council to give me some direction. Is that something you want to pursue? Do you want me to bring it back before you, depending on the outcome? Obviously, if the outcome is rules against the city, I think then that the litigation probably is not there. City Council will give me some direction on how you want me to proceed. Do you want the city attorney to try to handle it by himself? Do you want to engage Mr. Jones? Feel free to ask either one of them questions. Anyone?
I have a technical question, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Johnson. And forgive me, my legal knowledge is very minimal. If the suit was brought against Mr. Harrison, the city has covered the cost of that representation, which we just voted on. Does the city have the ability to recoup the money if we were not the party in the suit? That's my only question.
You know, that's an excellent question, Councilman Kennedy, relative to that, the actual party in interest, as you indicate, Judge Harrison, so that would be a choice that Judge Harrison would have to make. Effectively, the city would be subjugated because they've taken the position that, based upon the fact that he's a city employee, that they're gonna pay that. That'd have to be something that would be something that the city caucus with the city judge and make a decision about that. But again, as Mayor Akins indicated, perhaps it may be something better brought up and dealt with on another day. I mean, I can't comment on the efficacy of doing that, at least at this point in time. We don't know what the ruling of the court is. You know, obviously, as I indicated earlier, it's in their sage hands and wisdom. So that being said, again, the point that you bring up, the actual party in interest is Judge Harrison.
Mayor, any comment from the city attorney?
No, I believe Mr. Jones summed that up. I mean, it's complicated, it's possible, but without putting a lot of, I believe Mr. Jones is right. It may be Judge Harrison's part, but maybe the city. I'm not sure, I don't know.
I think it might be best viewed as sometimes you have to weigh whether or not the juice is worth the squeeze, is effectively what it comes down to, because, you know, what they say, when there's only one attorney in town, the old fella or lady will go broke, but when there's two, you know, unfortunately, they tend to litigate. But that being said, I can't tell you what the answer is, at that point in time. It'll be a personal decision that y'all have to reach with Judge Harrison.
Does City Council want to table it? Do they want to somebody speak up and let me know what you want me to do here? Do you want to, I'm not trying to pass the buck, I just want everyone involved and make sure we're all on the same page. So do you want to table it? Do you want me to, consult with the city attorney after the fact, after the Tennessee Supreme Court? I mean, we may be, discussing, over nothing, you know, if they come back and rule in favor of Ms. McNabb and against the city, then, it's probably a moot point. So, certainly lessens the chances, in my opinion, but y'all give me some direction here.
I think I'd like to see you table it.
Okay? Anyone else?
I think that would be the best one, probably, not knowing.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion that we table it.
So moved.
Motion, Mr. Henline, to have a second.
Second.
Second, Ms. Swampert, discussion.
Is this?
Mayor, should that not be, we got two good attorneys here that should answer that for us.
Okay?
I believe, from what I've heard in my meetings and training, that shouldn't be tabled, that should be postponed.
Okay?
Still the outcome is no.
Okay?
Maybe that would be better.
City attorney? Is
I
that what
believe
you?
that's correct.
Okay. So, Mr. Henline, I think you made a motion, is that correct? You, Mr. Kennedy, that we postpone it?
Yeah, my question was going to be the same as Eddie's, I just wanted the timeline to
Okay.
be defined in minutes.
So,
That motion for postponement's fine.
okay.
Until we get a decision on,
And
no further what we want to
do we have a second on that phone?
Yes, Ms. Wampler, and so is that until after the Supreme Court decision, is that correct?
No, it's until we decide again to do it.
Yeah, until we add it back to the agenda or,
Okay.
whatever we decide to do. So second by Ms. Swampert. Is that okay? Any other discussion? And one and all. Roll call, Ms. Vaughn.
Inline.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Wampler.
Aye.
Shields.
Aye.
Brandon.
Aye.
Simpson.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Jones, appreciate it.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of council, distinguished members of the city. I will retire.
Thank you. Item